I'm 42 years old. I've been married for 5 years to a woman I thought was perfect. Beautiful, successful, intelligent. I met Victoria 6 years ago at a business conference. She was wearing an expensive suit, walked with confidence, and had a captivating smile. I work as an IT specialist at a large company. The salary's good, but not huge. When I met Vika, she introduced herself as a business consultant. She said she worked with major clients, helped optimize business processes, and conducted company audits. I was impressed. She understood business, talked about million-dollar deals, traveled for work. She had her own apartment in the city center, an expensive car, designer clothes. I thought, here she is, a modern, successful woman. We started dating. Vika was perfect, smart, witty, sexy. With her, it was never boring. She could hold a conversation on any topic. She knew how to behave in restaurants, at events. Next to her, I felt more confident. After a year, I proposed. She said yes. The wedding was small but beautiful. We rented a restaurant, invited close friends and relatives. Vika was in a gorgeous dress. I was in a suit. Everyone said what a beautiful couple we were. After the wedding, we rented a bigger apartment. I suggested moving to her place, but she insisted on neutral territory. She said it would be fairer to start our life together in a new place. I agreed. The first year was good. We furnished the home, traveled, made plans. Vika continued working. She often went on business trips, sometimes for a day, sometimes for 2 or 3. She said clients were in other cities. She needed to meet them in person, conduct consultations. I didn't suspect anything. I trusted her completely. She earned well. She contributed her share to the rent, bought expensive things, took me to restaurants. I was proud of my wife. Successful, independent, beautiful. But there were oddities. Vika never told me details about work. I'd ask, "How was the meeting?" She'd answer with general phrases. "Fine, the client is satisfied." No specifics. I chalked it up to confidentiality. Business consultants can't disclose information about clients. She had 2 phones, personal one and a work one. She always kept the work phone on silent, never left it unattended. If it rang, she'd go to another room. She said clients called at any time, and she felt uncomfortable talking about business in front of me. Sometimes she'd leave late at night, at 10, at 11. She'd say a client urgently needed her, an important meeting. She'd return in the early morning, tired, silent. She'd go straight to the shower, then to bed. I didn't think much of it. I thought business requires sacrifices. The 3rd year of marriage brought more business trips. Vika left more and more often, 3 or 4 times a week. I started to miss her. I suggested spending more time together, going away for a weekend. She'd agree, but at the last moment would cancel. Urgent client, important deal. I wasn't offended. I understood that career was important. I worked a lot myself, stayed late at the office. We were a modern couple where both were building careers. But sometimes I noticed details. Vika would return from business trips with perfect makeup and hair. She'd say she'd been in negotiations all day, but looked fresh, as if she'd just come from a salon. She wore expensive perfume I hadn't bought, new jewelry I'd never seen before. I'd ask, "Where's that ring from?" She'd answer, "Bought it for a gift to myself, earned well this month." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She really was earning well. In the 4th year of marriage, I started noticing more. Vika became closed off, talked less about work, looked at her phone more often. If I approached, she'd quickly hide the screen. She said she was texting with clients, confidential information. Sex between us became less frequent. Once a week, then once every 2 weeks. She said she was tired. I understood. But sometimes I caught myself thinking, why does a wife who works so much always look impeccable? Hair, nails, skin, figure, as if professionals were taking care of her every day. I pushed away the suspicions, told myself I was paranoid, that my wife simply took care of herself, that successful women look like that.
But the worm of doubt had already taken root, and soon, everything would change.
The 5th year of marriage began with a conversation that turned everything upside down. My friend Maxime called me late in the evening. He said we urgently needed to meet. His voice was tense, anxious. We met at a bar. Maxime ordered whiskey, drank it in one gulp, and said what I didn't want to hear. He had seen Vika the night before at the Metropole Hotel. She was with a man. They were kissing in the lobby, then went up to a room together. I didn't believe it, refused to believe it. I said it was a business meeting, that he was mistaken, that it couldn't have been Vika. I got up and left without even saying goodbye. I was angry at Maxime for daring to suggest such a thing. But at home, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned next to my sleeping wife, thinking about my friend's words. I tried to push away the suspicions, but they had already settled in my head and wouldn't give me peace. The next day, I started noticing things I hadn't paid attention to before. Vika was getting ready for another meeting with a client. She put on an expensive dress, high heels, applied impeccable makeup. For business negotiations, it looked too seductive. I asked why she was dressed so fancy. She answered that it was an important client. She needed to look presentable. It sounded logical, but doubt had already rooted inside me. When she left, I couldn't concentrate on work. I started analyzing her schedule. 3 or 4 evenings a week she left for meetings, always in the evening, often returning in the early morning. She said VIP clients preferred late meetings, that it was more convenient for them. I started paying attention to details. Once there was a receipt from a restaurant on the table. Dinner for 2, expensive wine, a bill more than my weekly salary. Vika explained that the client paid for it. Too generous a client for a regular consultation. 2 weeks later, something happened that intensified my suspicions. Vika went to take a shower, leaving her work phone on the kitchen counter. I was walking by and saw a message on the locked screen. Tomorrow at 10 p.m., usual hotel, $5,000 as agreed. $5,000 for one meeting at the usual hotel? I tried to ask about it when she came out. Vika didn't lose her composure. She said it was in a prepayment from a client for a consultation, that she worked with very large companies and these were normal rates at her level. I wanted to believe her. I tried to convince myself that it was true. But then I started Googling, searching for information about business consultant rates. Yes, top specialists charge a lot, but $5,000 for an evening meeting at a hotel? And then I stumbled upon forums, discussions about elite-class escort services. They wrote about rates in exactly that range, from $5,000 to $10,000 per night. Meetings at 5-star hotels, confidentiality, VIP clients. I felt nauseous at the thought. I tried to push it away, but it had already lodged itself deep inside. The next month, I lived with this suspicion. I watched my wife, noted her schedule, noticed details. Each of her departures caused pain. Each return in the early morning, questions. And one day I decided. Vika left for another meeting. I stayed at home and started searching. Where could she keep the second phone when she was at home? I checked her bags, nothing. The closet, nothing. Dresser drawers, empty. Then I remembered the shoebox on the top shelf of the closet, an old box where Vika kept some memorabilia. I'd never looked in there, considered it her personal space. I got the box down. Under photos and tickets from our trips together lay a phone, a black iPhone in a thin case. My hands trembled as I turned it on. Password. I tried several combinations. Her birthday? No. Our wedding date? No. The simple combination, 1, 2, 3, 4, it opened. The first thing I saw was a messenger with dozens of chats. Client names, Dimitri, Alexander, Mikhail, VIP Client 1, VIP Client 2. I opened the correspondence. Business tone, discussion of time and place of meetings, payment amounts. Sometimes compliments, sometimes explicit messages about the night spent together. In the gallery were photos. Vika in expensive lingerie,
Vika in evening dresses, selfies in hotel rooms, photos with men whose faces were cropped out, screenshots of bank transfers, $5,000, $7,000, $4,500, dozens of transactions, hundreds of thousands of dollars over recent months. I sank to the floor right there by the closet. The phone fell from my hands. It was hard to breathe. There was a lump in my throat. My wife, my Vika, with whom I lived for 5 years, the woman I loved and trusted completely. An escort, an elite prostitute for $5,000 a night. All the business trips, all the meetings with clients, all the evenings when she left in expensive dresses and returned in the early morning. It was all a lie. 5 years of continuous, masterful lying. I sat on the floor and couldn't move. My head was empty. Our entire life together turned out to be a fake.
I don't know how long I sat on the floor with that phone. Maybe an hour, maybe 2. Time ceased to exist. I just scrolled through the messages, looked at photos, read the transfer amounts, tried to comprehend the scale of what had been revealed. Vika returned around 2 in the morning. I heard the door open, heard her take off her shoes in the hallway, heard her go to the kitchen for water. I was still sitting in the bedroom, on the floor, with her second phone in my hands. She walked in and froze in the doorway. She saw me, saw the phone. Her face went pale instantly. I didn't yell, didn't throw accusations. I just silently held out the phone to her. She took it with trembling hands, looked at the screen, then at me. For several seconds, we were silent. Then she quietly asked how long I had known. I answered that I had just found out today. She nodded, lowered her head. I asked only one thing: how many years has this been going on? She answered, 7. Even before we met, in the entire time of our marriage. 7 years, 5 of them married to me. Every business trip, every meeting with a client, every evening when she left in an expensive dress. None of it was business consulting. It was other men, for money. She started explaining, said it was just work, that she wasn't cheating on me emotionally, that she didn't fall in love with clients, that it was purely business, that the money was good. The lifestyle we led was largely thanks to this money. I listened and couldn't believe she was saying this seriously. Work? She sleeps with other men for money and calls it work? What about our marriage, our vows, our trust? She said she loved me, that I was the only man she had real feelings for, that with clients she was just playing a role, and the real her was the one at home, with me. But how can I know what's real and what's a role? She lied to me every day for 5 years, perfectly lied. I never once doubted her. How can I believe a single word she says now? I asked why she even married me if she wanted to continue this life. She answered that she wanted a normal family, that she was tired of being alone, that I was the first man with whom she felt truly herself. But at the same time, she continued sleeping with others, 3 or 4 times a week, for money, and came home, got into our bed, kissed me, and told me how tired she was from work. I felt physically sick from these thoughts. I imagined how she spent the night with some rich client in a hotel room, and in the morning came home to me, and I hugged her, not knowing where she had been and what she had done. I asked about the money, how much she had earned over these years. Vika said a lot, a great deal. She had accounts I didn't know about, several $100,000, maybe more. I thought about our apartment that we rented, about her car, about the expensive restaurants we went to, about vacation trips. All of it was paid with money she received from other men. I wanted to leave, pack my things, and leave immediately, but I couldn't move, just sat and looked at the woman I thought I knew. Vika was crying, said she didn't want me to find out, that she planned to quit this work in a year or 2 when she saved enough.
that she wanted to tell me but was afraid of losing me. Now she had lost my trust, and that's worse than losing me physically. The next few days were hell. I went to work but couldn't concentrate. Came home and we sat in different rooms. She tried to talk, explain, apologize. I was silent. I thought about divorce, seriously thought about it. Gathered arguments in my head, imagined how I would tell her it was over, but each time something stopped me. 5 years of marriage. 5 years when I was happy, when I loved this woman. Yes, I didn't know the truth, but the feelings were real. My love was real. I couldn't just erase that. A week later, I told Vika that I wasn't leaving, that I was staying, but with one condition. She quits this work immediately. All clients, all contacts, all of it ends today. She agreed, said she was ready, that she would do everything I said. But even after that, something was broken. I look at her and don't know who she is. Every time she touches me, I think about how many other men touched her the same way. Every time she says she loves me, I remember how she masterfully lied for 5 years. Trust is destroyed, completely, irretrievably. I stayed with her, but this is no longer the marriage we had. This is existing next to a person I no longer know. I'm 42 years old. I found out that my wife is an elite escort, and I stayed with her. But am I happy? No. Can I forgive? I don't know. Do I trust her now? Never.
I'm 35 years old. For the last 7 years, I've been working as an elite escort. 5 of those years, I've been married. My husband found out the truth a month ago. He found my second phone, saw everything. I didn't plan to become an escort. At 28, I had a regular office job. Average salary, gray life, unclear prospects. I rented a studio on the outskirts, economized on everything, dreamed of a normal life. One day, a friend suggested earning extra money at a private event. She said they needed beautiful girls to accompany guests. I thought, why not? They offered good money for one evening. I arrived at an expensive hotel. There was a reception for businessmen. My task was simple. Stand next to one of the guests, smile, maintain small talk. Nothing extra. They paid $1,000 for the evening. $1,000 for 4 hours of smiles and conversation. That was more than my monthly salary. After the event, the organizer approached me, said one of the guests wanted to continue the evening, offered $2,000 for the night. I understood what he meant. I could have refused, should have refused, but I thought about the rented studio, about loans, about being 30 and life passing me by. I agreed. It was a man about 50, pleasant, well-groomed, wealthy. We spent the night in his room. In the morning, he left an envelope with money on the nightstand and said he wanted to see me again. $2,000 for one night. I held the envelope in my hands and understood my life had changed. The following months, I worked through that organizer. Private events, wealthy clients, good money. I didn't consider myself a prostitute. I was an escort. It sounded prettier, more proper. After 6 months, I rented an apartment in the city center, bought a car, started buying expensive clothes, going to beauty salons, traveling. Life became bright, rich, beautiful. Clients were different. Businessmen, politicians, foreigners, all wealthy, all well-mannered, no filth, no violence. Just company for an evening, for a night, sometimes for a weekend. I became popular in a narrow circle, beautiful, intelligent, able to maintain conversation on any topic. I was recommended to friends. Rates grew, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 per night. I opened bank accounts, saved money, planned that in a few years I would leave this business and start something of my own, a store, a studio, any legal business. But time passed and I continued. The money was too good, the lifestyle too comfortable. Why work 9 to 6 for pennies when you can earn in a week what others don't earn in a year? At 33, I met Andre. It was at a business conference I attended not for work, but just out of interest. He sat down next to me at a cafe. We got to talking. Andre was different. Simple, sincere, real. He didn't assess me with his eyes, didn't try to impress with money, just talked about work, about life, about plans. I became interested. We started dating. I didn't tell him about my work, said I was a business consultant. He believed me. Why wouldn't he? I had the right cover story, the right lifestyle. With Andre, I felt like a normal woman. Not a commodity, not a service, just a woman who was loved not for money. When he proposed, I hesitated. I understood that I couldn't get married and continue working as an escort. It was dishonest. It was betrayal. But I agreed because I wanted this normal life, wanted to be someone's wife, have a home, a family, a future. I planned to quit work right after the wedding. Honestly, planned to. But then I thought, just a couple more months, I'll save more. Then another 6 months. Then another year. I couldn't stop. The money was too good. The lifestyle too comfortable. Andre didn't earn much. We lived in a rented apartment. How could I quit work and sit without money? I created the perfect cover story. A business consultant who works with VIP clients. Business trips, evening meetings, confidentiality. Andre didn't suspect. I left 3 or 4 times a week, met with clients, spent nights in hotels, came home, got into bed with my husband. He hugged me, said he missed me. I was ashamed. Every time I came back after a client, I showered for half an hour, tried to wash off the feeling of dirt. Then I lay down next to Andre and pretended everything was normal. But shame wasn't enough to stop. I continued, month after month, year after year. I didn't fall in love with clients. Never. It was work. I played a role. Charming companion, attentive lover, whatever they wanted to see. But the real me was only at home with Andre. I love him. Really love him. He's the only man I have real feelings for. Everything else is business. But a month ago, he found my second phone, saw the messages, photos, transfers, found out everything. I couldn't lie, didn't want to lie anymore, told the truth, all of it. I thought he would leave. He had the right to leave, but he stayed. He said I had to quit work immediately. All clients, all contacts, end it all. I agreed. Wrote to everyone that I wasn't working anymore, deleted apps, blocked numbers, shut down the second phone. But Andre looks at me differently now. There's no trust in his eyes. There's pain, disappointment, disgust. I destroyed what we built. 5 years of lies. He will never forgive me.
People think being an elite escort is just looking beautiful and sleeping with rich men, but it's much more complicated. It's work. Hard, exhausting work. Every client expects perfection. Perfect appearance, perfect behavior, perfect mood. You can't be tired. You can't be in a bad mood. You can't show that you're uncomfortable or bored. I had to be an actress. Every evening, a new role. One client wants to see a refined intellectual. I talk about art and politics. Another wants a naive girl. I play shyness and admiration. A third wants a passionate lover. I give him that illusion. Preparation took hours. Beauty salon, manicure, pedicure, hairstyling, makeup, expensive lingerie in the right dress, perfume, jewelry. Every detail had to be flawless. I studied clients in advance, found out what they did, what their interests were, what they liked to talk about, so that at the meeting I could maintain conversation, ask the right questions, and show that I was interested. But the hardest part wasn't the physical intimacy. It was the emotional game. You need to create the illusion that you really want to be here with this man, that you enjoy his company, that you're getting pleasure, not just earning money. Some clients were pleasant. well-groomed, well-mannered, with a sense of humor. With them, the evening passed easily. We'd have dinner at a restaurant, talk, laugh, then go up to the room. In the morning, I'd leave with an envelope and a feeling that it was just a pleasant meeting. But there were others, men who paid money and thought they bought me completely, who demanded, humiliated, treated me like an object. With them, every minute was a test. But I smiled, endured, played the role to the end. Because the money was worth it. $5,000 per night. In one night, I earned more than Andre in a month. I lived in two worlds. During the day, I was an ordinary wife, made breakfast, cleaned the apartment, watched TV shows, walked with Andre. We went to movies, met with friends, planned vacations. In the evening, I transformed into Victoria, an elite escort, put on an expensive dress, applied makeup, took the second phone, and left for a client. Andre thought I was going to a business meeting. I said I'd return late or in the morning. He kissed me goodbye, wished me luck, and I went to a hotel, met with a man who paid for me, spent the night with him, in the morning took the money and returned home. Andre hugged me, asked how the meeting went. I said it went well, the client was satisfied. He was proud of me, said what a great job I was doing, how cool that I had such a successful career. It hurt to hear that, but I continued to lie. I justified myself, said it was just work, that I had no feelings for clients, that I wasn't cheating on Andre emotionally, only physically, that real intimacy was what we had and everything else was just business. But I knew it wasn't true. Cheating is cheating. It doesn't matter if there are feelings or not. I slept with other men while married. That's betrayal, period. But I couldn't stop. The money was too good. I saved it in accounts Andre didn't know about. I already had $300,000. I planned to save $500,000 and quit, open my own business, tell Andre I received an inheritance or won a grant, start a normal life. Another year or two of work and I would have quit. Honestly, wanted to quit. But Andre found the phone earlier. When I walked into the bedroom and saw him with my second phone, my heart stopped. I understood that it was over. All my lies, all my double life, everything was revealed. I didn't try to lie. There was no point. He saw the messages, photos, transfers. The evidence was irrefutable. I confessed everything. Said how many years it had been going on, how much money I had earned, why I didn't quit after the wedding. I said I loved him, that he was the only real thing in my life, that clients were just work, and he was my family, my home, my person. But he saw in my eyes that he didn't believe. How could he believe after 5 years of lies? I expected him to leave, pack his things and leave immediately. I was ready for it, deserved it. But he stayed, said I had to quit work. All clients, all contacts, and everything today. I agreed. That same night, I wrote to everyone that I wasn't working anymore. Deleted apps, blocked numbers, threw away the second phone. I quit, forever. But the consequences remained. Andre looks at me and I see pain in his eyes. He doesn't touch me, doesn't hug me. We live in the same apartment, but sleep in different rooms. I destroyed our marriage, not physically, but emotionally. Trust is dead. Love is poisoned. I wanted to have everything: money, comfort, career, and a loving husband. But you can't have everything. I chose money and lost my husband. Now it's too late to change anything.
A month has passed since that evening when Andre learned the truth. A month of silence, coldness, and destroyed intimacy. We live under one roof, but this is no longer a family. These are two strangers sharing space. I promised to quit work. That night, when he found the phone, I swore I would end all of this. Wrote to clients that I wasn't working anymore. Deleted contacts, blocked numbers. Andre watched me do it. The first week was easy. I was in shock, in stress, in constant guilt. I didn't want to think about work. I wanted to fix the situation, restore my husband's trust, save the marriage. The second week was harder. I started looking for regular work, browsed vacancies in marketing, PR, consulting, looked at salaries. $3,000, $5,000 a month. $5,000 a month. Before, that was my rate for one night. I tried not to think about it.
told myself money wasn't the main thing, that the main thing was family, love, an honest life. By the third week, I started feeling pressure. Andre and I were used to a certain standard of living, a nice apartment, restaurants, travel. His salary covers only basic expenses: rent, food, utilities, no luxuries. I have savings, $300,000 in accounts. I told Andre about them. He was shocked. I suggested using this money, buying an apartment, starting a new life. But he refused, said he didn't want to touch dirty money, that this money was earned through betrayal. I didn't argue. The money remained in the accounts. In the fourth week, one of my regular clients wrote to me, found me through another channel I hadn't blocked, a wealthy businessman I'd worked with for 2 years, always polite, generous, pleasant. He wrote that he missed our meetings, offered $10,000 for one evening, twice the usual rate. Just have dinner, talk, spend the night. I replied that I wasn't working anymore. He wrote $15,000. I didn't respond, but the number stuck in my head, $15,000 for one night. And one night I can earn what I'd earn in 6 months at a regular job. I started calculating. If I work once a week, that's $60,000 a month. If once every 2 weeks, $30,000. If once a month, still more than any legal job can offer me. I tried to push these thoughts away, reminded myself that I promised Andre that I'd destroy the last chance to save the marriage, that it was wrong, dishonest, vile. But the thoughts didn't leave. They returned every day, every hour. I realized I can't live on a regular salary, can't give up expensive things, travel, restaurants, beauty salons. It became part of me. I got used to this life. I don't want to give it up. And the scariest thing, I don't want to quit work. Not just because of the money. This work gave me power, control, the feeling that I was needed, desired, valuable. I wasn't just the wife of an IT specialist. I was Victoria, an elite escort for whom thousands of dollars were paid. I felt important, successful, free. At a regular job, I'll just be an office employee, one of thousands, with a gray salary and a gray life. Yesterday, I responded to that client, said I'd meet him. One time, $15,000. Tomorrow evening, I have a meeting. Andre thinks I'm going to a job interview at a company that works late. I'm lying again, and I know that if I meet tomorrow, I won't stop. There will be a second time, a third, a fourth. I'll return to my former life, but this time I'll be more careful. New phone, new security measures, new cover stories. Andre won't find out. I won't let him find out. I understand this is terrible, that I'm betraying him again, that I'm destroying the last chance to save the marriage. But I can't refuse. Maybe I'm addicted, not to sex, not to men, to money, to the lifestyle, to the feeling of power. Maybe something in me is broken. A normal woman would choose her husband, would choose honesty, family, love. But I'm choosing money, again. Andre stayed with me because he loves me, believes I've changed, that we can start over. And I'm preparing for tomorrow's meeting, choosing a dress, making a salon appointment, planning my alibi. I haven't changed. I just learned to hide better. I'm 35 years old. I'm a wife, and I'm an escort again. Andre will never know. I'll do everything so he won't know. But inside, I understand, sooner or later the lie will come out again. It always does. And next time, he won't stay.
Before me is the story of two people trapped in lies, addiction, and destroyed trust. A man who discovered his wife leads a double life. A woman who cannot give up work that's destroying her marriage. Let's examine what's happening on a psychological level. Let's start with Victoria. Her behavior is a classic example of multiple addictions and narcissistic defense mechanisms. The first thing to understand, she's addicted, but not to sex, to money, status, and the feeling of power. Financial addiction forms quickly when a person gets used to a certain standard of living Giving it up is perceived as a personal catastrophe. Victoria earned in one night what others don't earn in a month. Her brain adapted to this income level and now perceives a regular salary as humiliation. This isn't just greed, it's a psychological addiction, similar to drug addiction. The brain's dopamine system activates when receiving large sums. Gradually, tolerance forms. More money is needed for the same level of satisfaction. The second level of addiction is ego. Victoria didn't just earn money, she received confirmation of her value. Men paid thousands of dollars for one night with her. This is a powerful source of self-esteem. In ordinary life, she would be one of millions of women. In escort work, she was elite, in demand, desired. Rich, influential men competed for her. This is intoxicating. The third component, illusion of control. In escort work, Victoria chose clients herself, set rules, dictated conditions. She had power. In ordinary life, at an office job, she would be subordinate. This is psychologically unbearable for someone used to being in control. Why didn't she quit after the wedding? Because she never really planned to quit. Rationalization is a defense mechanism of the psyche. She told herself, just a little more, I'll save more, then I'll quit. But this was a lie to herself. She created two identities, Victoria the wife and Victoria the escort. Psychologically, this is called dissociation. A person splits their personality into parts to avoid cognitive dissonance. When she was with clients, she forgot about her husband. When she was home, she forgot about work. Two lives existed in parallel, not intersecting in her consciousness. This way, she could live without constant guilt. But dissociation doesn't solve the problem. It only postpones confrontation with reality. Victoria says she loves her husband. Perhaps it's true, but her love is selfish. She loves what Andre gives her, stability, emotional security, a sense of normalcy, but she doesn't love him enough to sacrifice her desires for him. Real love requires sacrifices. Victoria isn't ready to sacrifice. She wants to have everything: husband, money, status, freedom. This is an infantile position. An adult understands that choice is inevitable. Now she's lying again. Promised to quit but is returning to work. This is a classic pattern of addictive behavior. Promise, relapse, guilt, new promise, new relapse. The cycle will repeat until she acknowledges the problem and gets help. Now Andre. His trauma is multi-layered. The first layer, betrayal. The wife he trusted completely lied to him every day for 5 years. This destroys the basic sense of security in the world. The second layer, sexual betrayal. She slept with dozens of men while married. For a man, this is especially painful. A feeling of humiliation arises, a sense that he's not good enough. The third layer, financial. It turns out his wife earned tens of times more than him. This is a blow to masculine self-esteem. He thought he was providing for the family, but in reality, she earned more by engaging in prostitution. The fourth layer, cognitive. All his memories of the marriage are now poisoned. Every business trip, every I love you, every embrace after her return, all of it is now colored by lies. Post-traumatic stress disorder develops not only after physical traumas. Emotional betrayal of this scale creates the same symptoms: intrusive thoughts, insomnia, hypervigilance, and inability to trust. Why did he stay? This is a complex question. First, attachment. 5 years of marriage created a deep emotional bond. It can't be severed instantly, even after betrayal. Second, hope. Andre believes Victoria will change, that she'll really quit work and they can restore the relationship. This hope is irrational, but it exists. Third, fear of loneliness. Andre lost his wife emotionally, but physically she's near. To leave means to acknowledge the final loss. To stay means to preserve the illusion that something can still be saved. But his decision to stay has a price. Every day in a marriage without trust destroys his psyche. He lives in constant tension, suspicion, pain. This is slow emotional suicide. Victoria will return to work, perhaps already has. Andre doesn't know yet, but sooner or later he'll find out, and then he'll have a second chance to make the right choice. Both are trapped, Victoria in the trap of addiction, Andre in the trap of false hope. Without professional help, this story will end in catastrophe. This situation requires immediate intervention. Without professional help, the marriage is doomed, and the psychological state of both partners will only deteriorate. Let's break down specific steps for each of them. For Victoria, the first and most important step: acknowledge the addiction. Victoria must understand that her inability to quit work is not a character weakness or lack of love for her husband. This is a clinical addiction requiring treatment. Individual therapy focused on addictive behavior is recommended. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps restructure thinking, identify triggers, and develop healthy coping mechanisms. It's necessary to explore the roots of addiction. Why did money and status become so important? Perhaps there are childhood traumas related to poverty, rejection, or low self-esteem. Understanding the causes is the first step to healing. Victoria must create a financial plan for leaving escort work. A sharp drop in income is perceived as catastrophe. A gradual transition is needed. For example, find work with decent income, consulting, personal brand, online business that doesn't require selling her body. Her $300,000 is a resource for the transition period. Yes, the money was earned in escort work, but it already exists. It can be used for investments, buying property, or creating a business. Refusing it on principle is impractical. Victoria must stop dissociating. Acknowledge that two identities are one personality. It's impossible to be a loving wife while hiding a double life. Personality integration is painful but necessary. If she truly loves Andre, she needs to make a radical choice. Either completely end work and go through the long path of restoring trust, or admit she can't quit and let him go. There is no third way. Continuing to lie is cruelty. Andre doesn't deserve to live in an illusion while she cheats on him again. For Andre is in a codependent relationship. He hopes to save his wife, change her, bring back the old Victoria. But the truth is, the old Victoria never existed. She was always an escort from the first day of their relationship. First recommendation: individual therapy for working with betrayal trauma. PTSD from emotional abuse requires professional treatment. EMDR therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy can help. Andre must establish clear boundaries, not just quit work, but specific conditions: complete financial transparency, access to phones, regular reports on whereabouts. Yes, this sounds like control, but without transparency, trust cannot be restored. If Victoria refuses transparency, this is a red flag. It means she's not ready to change and will continue lying. Andre must ask himself an honest question: what is he willing to tolerate? If Victoria returns to work, and she most likely already has, will he stay again? Where is his red line? Without clear boundaries, he'll become a codependent partner who endlessly forgives and accepts unacceptable behavior. Important point: Andre cannot save Victoria. Only she can save herself. His task is to decide what's acceptable for himself. Temporary separation is recommended, not necessarily divorce, but physical distance. Move out for a month, give both time to think. In constant tension, it's impossible to make a balanced decision. Andre needs support groups for partners of people with addictions, individual therapy, close friends or family. You can't go through this alone. For both, couples therapy. If Victoria really quits work and both want to save the marriage, intensive couples therapy is necessary, minimum 1 year of regular sessions. Main therapy goals:
restoring trust through transparency and consistency, working through betrayal trauma, learning healthy communication without lies and manipulation, creating new shared meanings and goals. It's important to understand trust is restored over years. Andre is not obligated to forgive quickly. Victoria has no right to demand immediate forgiveness. The recovery process is long, painful, and doesn't guarantee success. Statistics show that marriages after such large-scale betrayal rarely survive. Realistic prognosis. The probability of a favorable outcome is low. Victoria already demonstrates signs of relapse. She's planning a meeting with a client, lying to her husband again, returning to old patterns. Without radical changes on her part, the marriage will end. The question is only, when will Andre learn about the new lies? If he finds out and stays again, this is a path to complete destruction of his psyche. There should be no third chance. Best scenario? Victoria realizes the problem, seeks help, really quits work, and goes through the long path of recovery. Andre gets therapy, sets boundaries, restores self-esteem. After a few years, perhaps the marriage will survive. Worst scenario? Victoria continues lying. Andre lives in constant stress and suspicion. Sooner or later, the truth comes out, and both receive deep psychological trauma. Middle scenario? Divorce. Painful but honest. Both get a chance to start over without lies and toxicity. Sometimes the most loving decision is to let go.